William Liske is charged with 6 counts of aggravated murder. Liske will be evaluated within the next 30 days to see if he's competent to stand trial.
Halloween in 1975 in Greenwich, Connecticut. 15-year-old Martha Moxley was found beaten to death with a golf club.
He made no attempt to stop, and he kept advancing.
The adrenaline was so high in my system, it just fear.
On Halloween night, when the boundary between the living and the dead blurs, some horrors aren't just make-believe. This isn't a tale of haunted houses or vengeful spirits. This is the real chilling chronicle of 5 Halloween crimes that left the world gasping. From the sinister lure of the actual Candyman to the eerie silence following the Liske Family Massacre, the line between trick and tragedy has never been so thin. Story 1. The Candyman Murder.
Some of these small Tootsie Rolls turned in. Inside these Tootsie Rolls have been placed 1.5-inch long sewing needles.
And to throw it out if they find anything suspicious. There were children who were neglecting these warnings and as late as last night were still out trick-or-treating.
Over 40 years ago, a chilling crime shook the Harris County community in Texas. Ronald Clark O'Brien was accused of poisoning his son's Halloween candy with cyanide. Mike Hinton, the former Harris County Assistant District Attorney who prosecuted the case, vividly remembers the details. "I never get tired of talking about that sorry-ass son of a bitch," says Hinton, who remains haunted by the crime. The victim was 8-year-old Timothy O'Brien, who consumed a cyanide-laced pixie stick given by his own father. During the trial, the defendant, later named the Candyman, showed a peculiar behavior, like offering Hinton a Tootsie Roll in court. When O'Brien was executed on March 31, 1981, Hinton recalls lifting a beer in silent celebration, signifying the weight of this case on him. The crime left an indelible mark, not just on Hinton, but on many others. Tom Campbell, a reporter who covered the trial, confesses, "To this day, I don't observe Halloween." As per the accounts, after an evening out trick-or-treating with his 2 children and their friend, O'Brien presented them with giant pixie sticks. Timothy, soon after consuming his, began convulsing and tragically passed away that evening. Initial investigations had no reason to suspect the grieving father, but subsequent clues began pointing towards O'Brien. Bill Nanaya, the detective on the case, discovered that at the top of each pixie sticks had been filled with a fatal dose of cyanide. The suspicion deepened when they learned about O'Brien's mounting debts, his recent acquisition of hefty life insurance policies on his children, and his oddly imprecise memories of the night. Evidence piled up against O'Brien, revealing he had even inquired about purchasing cyanide. Even though he never confessed, a jury convicted him in less than an hour. Joel Best, an academic, noted that Timothy O'Brien's case was unique, being the only deliberate Halloween poisoning documented. However, it amplified the existing fears in society about the dangers of Halloween candy from strangers. The aftermath of Timothy's death saw a wave of panic sweep the community. Detective Lanaya recalls, "We put out the word. If you have any suspicious candy or if anything looks strange, bring it to us." We wound up with a whole room full of candy. People didn't go trick-or-treating around here for years. Hinton believes the case forever altered Halloween. The tragedy also changed the course of many lives. O'Brien's wife, Dayneen, testified against him and later remarried. Timothy's sister moved on, raising her own family. As for O'Brien, his last act before his execution was to donate his eyes for research. When he was declared dead, observers outside the prison yelled, "Trick or treat." Story 2. The Liske Family Massacre.
William Liske is charged with 6 counts of aggravated murder. Liske will be evaluated within the next 30 days to see if he's competent to stand trial.
Late October, a month when spirits are said to roam, was when the town of Port Clinton experienced a nightmare that still sends shivers down the spine. The Liske family, a seemingly ordinary household, met a gruesome fate that no one saw coming. William B.J. Liske, at 25, with wild eyes and a haunted demeanor, became the subject of whispered tales after the fateful night he ended the lives of his own father, William Liske Jr., his gentle stepmother Susan, and her son Derek. The incident was so horrifying it sounded like the stuff of horror stories. But BJ was real, and so were the shadows that lurked in his mind. While most kids grow up scared of monsters under the bed, BJ was fighting the monsters inside his head. Some say it was his schizoaffective disorder, a condition where reality and fantasy blur that pushed him over the edge that night. Others speculate that the mix of alcohol only fueled his inner demons. When young Devon Griffin, Susan's 16-year-old son, returned home from a night away, he anticipated a warm embrace from his family. Instead, he stumbled upon a sight so bone-chilling it would haunt his dreams forever. The house echoed with a deafening silence, but the rooms told tales of violence and anguish. Derek lay lifeless, cruelly attacked with a hammer. The elder Lisks bore the marks of multiple gunshot wounds. The town wept, trying to piece together the events of that cursed night. In the courtroom, filled with sorrowful eyes and hushed murmurs, BJ admitted, "I loved my dad. It sickens me to think of what I did." He seemed remorseful, even mentioning a dark influence, possibly hinting at Satan for his wicked actions. "I don't blame anyone but myself," he whispered, tears streaming down his face. As the court proceedings unfolded, eerie details emerged. Beyond the heinous murders, there was evidence suggesting a violent act against Susan, adding another layer of darkness to the chilling saga. Lawyers debated fiercely. BJ's condition and the question of medication on that fateful night came under scrutiny. His youth played a part, with both sides acknowledging the heavy shadows of mental illness that clouded his life. Finally, an agreement was reached. Instead of the looming possibility of a death sentence, BJ would spend the rest of his days behind bars, forever haunted by the memories of that night. As the courtroom emptied, the town was left with a chilling tale that would be whispered for generations. The Liske family home, once filled with laughter, would forever remain a haunting reminder of the thin line between sanity and madness. Story 3. The Martha Moxley Mystery.
Halloween in 1975 in Greenwich, Connecticut. 15-year-old Martha Moxley was found beaten to death with a golf club.
In 1975, Greenwich, Connecticut faced a horrific event, the murder of 15-year-old Martha Moxley. This tragedy unfolded on October the 30th, right before Halloween. Martha's last known whereabouts? The Skakel residence. The next morning, she was tragically found under a tree in her backyard. The main evidence? A shattered golf club from the Skakel house. Interestingly, no signs indicated other personal harm to Martha. Thomas Skakel was the spotlight's focus, being the last to be with Martha. Eyewitnesses recounted them near the Skakel's pool fence, but soon the investigation lost steam, turning the case cold. Things got complicated. Both Thomas and his brother Michael kept changing their tales. Michael's account was strange. He claimed he was in a tree near Martha's house at the time. Two students from a land school made shocking claims. Michael had confessed to them saying, "I'm going to get away with murder. I'm a Kennedy." That's right, the Skakels were related to the famous Kennedys. The case intrigued authors who penned about it. They felt the original investigation might have missed key points. In 1991, whispers about another Kennedy's presence at the Skakel house during the crime circled. Although not true, this rekindled interest. An investigative team, Sutton Associates, soon highlighted gaps in the Skakel brothers' stories. By 1998, based on new evidence, Michael was charged with Martha's murder. The 2002 trial presented a tape where Michael discussed that fateful night. Paired with images of Martha, it hinted at his guilt. The verdict? Guilty. Michael faced 20 years or more in prison. Knowing Michael's background adds layers to his tale. Tied to the Kennedys, he lived in a well-off area. After his mother's demise, Michael grappled with alcohol and academic hurdles, but he also had achievements like becoming an athlete. His personal life saw ups and downs, including marriage and becoming a dad. Yet, post-arrest, his wife chose to part ways. But this isn't where it ends. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. staunchly believed in Michael's innocence. He authored articles and books presenting alternate views. Michael didn't just accept his fate, he challenged it in courts. He argued about not getting a fair trial. The journey was a roller coaster. His conviction was validated, then nullified, then validated, and finally nullified again. The ultimate twist? In 2020, authorities decided against retrying Michael, feeling the case lacked solid proof. Who do you think was the killer? Comment below and we'll reply to as many people as we can. Now, on to the next one. Story 4. The Dark Side of Halloween in New York City. The Egging Murders.
responsible for felony murder. That's what happened here. They all conspired to take eggs and throw at this house, and they were all present during that conspiracy when that gun was fired and killed that victim.
It was Halloween night in 1998. In the Bronx, families celebrated, children trick-or-treated, and festive mood hung in the air. But for Carl Jackson, a simple 21-year-old who had just started life as a data entry clerk at Morgan Stanley, this night would change everything. Driving through the streets with his girlfriend, picking up her son from a party, their car became the target of a common prank, a shower of eggs thrown by mischievous teenagers. But Carl, having always felt a sense of unease about Halloween's chaos, decided to confront them. What began as a mild dispute turned deadly when a gun emerged from the shadows. A single gunshot. In the midst of Halloween celebrations, Carl Jackson lost his life. Gloria Jackson, Carl's mother, expressed the pain of her unimaginable loss. "We never thought that anyone from our family would be murdered, especially on a holiday, for something stupid." But what's truly chilling? Carl's story wasn't unique. Since 1984, Halloween egg-throwing confrontations have left a trail of victims in New York City. 24 people have been harmed or lost their lives in violent clashes that followed this seemingly harmless prank. Teenagers, hidden behind masks in the thrill of the night, would unleash chaos with a simple throw of an egg. Sometimes it was the victims, like Carl, who faced deadly retaliation. Other times, those who hurled the eggs met grim fates. In Queens, recognizing the seriousness of these events, police officers asked stores to not sell eggs to minors during Halloween week. They even distributed no egg posters, trying to stem the tide of violence. And yet every year, new stories emerge. Like in 2005 when a man was shot and killed after confronting teenagers who had egged his car. Every Halloween, as the city dons its costumes and children run door to door, the Jackson family gathers at a quiet spot in Woodlawn Cemetery. They leave messages on painted stones by Carl's grave, a somber tradition, a haunting reminder. The teenager who ended Carl's life, Curtis Sterling, sits in a prison cell, serving a 20-year sentence, and every October he receives a card, a message from a grieving mother that simply states, "I'm glad you're still there." Story 5. The Haunting Tale of Yoshihiro Hattori.
As he would tell the sheriff later on this horrifying night.
Yeah, and he started going to the man. And then I saw he had a gun. I go, "Yoshi, no! Yoshi, come back!" And Yoshi come back, and he started saying, and the man said, "Freeze!" And Yoshi said, "I'm here for the party." And then he came a little bit closer, and so the man shot him.
It was a cold night in October 1992 when Yoshihiro, or Yoshi Hattori, a 16-year-old Japanese student, found himself in a haunting tale of his own in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Visiting America for a student exchange program, Yoshi looked forward to blending in and enjoying every bit of American life. Little did he know that a Halloween party would turn into a horrifying real-life nightmare. Excitement bubbled in the air that night. Yoshi had chosen the coolest costume, dressing like John Travolta from the iconic film Saturday Night Fever. Along with his homestay brother, Webb Haymaker, Yoshi was ready to enjoy the Halloween night. However, fate played a cruel trick on them. With the Halloween decorations glowing eerily, they mistakenly approached the wrong house, thinking it was their party destination. As they rang the doorbell, a tense silence hung in the air. No one answered the front, but suddenly a side door creaked open. Bonnie Pierce peeked out, her eyes widening in fear at the sight of Webb, who sported a neck brace and bandages for his costume, and Yoshi, who suddenly appeared in his white tuxedo. Panicking, she shouted to her husband, Rodney, "Get your gun." Outside, Yoshi and Webb felt the prickling sensation that something was wrong. As they turned to leave, the carport door swung open, revealing Rodney, holding a .44 Magnum revolver. Yoshi, in confusion, stepped towards him, saying, "We're here for the party." Rodney yelled, "Freeze!" But Yoshi, with limited English and no contact lenses, didn't fully grasp the danger. Perhaps he even thought it was all part of a spooky Halloween prank. But this was no joke. Rodney misread the situation, and with a deafening bang, Yoshi was struck by a bullet. He collapsed, and the quiet neighborhood was plunged into chaos. When the police arrived, they found a fatally wounded Yoshi, while the Pierces stayed hidden in their home, letting the chilling aftermath of their actions unfold outside.
He made no attempt to stop, and he kept advancing.
The adrenaline was so high in my system, it was just fear.
The tragedy rocked the world. Though Rodney claimed he had acted in fear, many believed that the shooting had dark undertones of racial prejudice. It was his fast movement towards that door that scared me so bad, not the color of his skin, Bonnie Pierce later said. But this didn't convince anyone. The Baton Rouge courts acquitted Rodney of manslaughter, causing an uproar. However, a civil court later declared him responsible for Yoshi's death, ordering him to pay a hefty sum to Yoshi's grieving parents. The tale of Yoshi Hattori, while terrifying, prompted a wave of change. His tragic end inspired many to push the stricter gun control, ensuring that no one would ever face a horrifying fate like this on an innocent Halloween night. As the Halloween season sweeps in with its cold air and glowing pumpkins, we're reminded of the real-life terrors that once shook our communities. From the gruesome acts of the Candyman to the tragic night Yoshihiro Yoshi Hattori rang the wrong doorbell. These stories aren't just tales, they're true nightmares that families lived. But as we close this chapter, one question lingers. How many more hidden stories of Halloween horrors are out there waiting to be uncovered? Remember, the line between festive frights and real-life terror can be much thinner than we think. Stay safe this Halloween and always keep your guard up. After all, not every monster wears a mask. Got your heart rating, didn't we? Hit that subscribe button and join us on this thrilling journey. And hey, drop a comment below if there's a topic that's been keeping you up at night. We might just turn the spotlight on it next.